Hey everybody, Kelsey Komorowski here, founder of Como. Welcome to today's interview with Jessica. Jessica is actually chatting with me on the heels of her daughter Katie having done this very similar thing very recently. So we're really lucky that we're going to get both perspectives, kid perspective, mom perspective from the same family here who went through a lot of challenges with school and with learning. Their journey, I know, is going to resonate and I think inspire a lot of you, especially if you are in the thick of struggle right now. This is a really, really big testament to what's possible. So, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to pass it over to you if you can give us a bit of background about you, about Katie, about what the situation was with school, going into high school.
Yeah. My daughter Katie started ninth grade in public school and was a very challenging year. She struggled with anxiety and depression at the same time struggling in school. It was not a good year. It was a very, very difficult year. And for any parents that might also have gone down a similar journey, we did have to take her out of school mid ninth grade for psych ward, inpatient, outpatient, just a complete mental breakdown. That's where we were, absolute complete. So I decided to take her out of public school at that point, and we started 10th grade in an online school situation, which helped, but it did not help all of the other struggles she was having with just skills and how to get through school and how to create your own, organize your time, manage your time, all things like that. In an online situation, it was just like, here's your school, you got 5 months to do this, go, and no instruction. So I tried my best on the side to do that, but maybe parents of ninth, 10th graders, yes, we know high school kids, they're not really open to a lot of parental intervention.
Shocking, Jessica, shocking.
So it was always a struggle. And then we were struggling with, the therapy end of it as well. And how do we as the parents support her, on and on. So struggles on all ends. And school was, I kept paying for extensions for the online school program because she couldn't quite finish, and trying to make goodies like, hey, we'll like go on this nice little vacation for a week, if you just finish by like June 24th, just finish by July 7th, just finish the mid-July, we can do this. And it seemed like it was rolling over. She never had a summer, and it was suddenly like, well, you have to start school in August, so here we go. And it just wasn't really working out well.
So, Jessica, let's unpack that a bit. First and foremost, thank you for sharing that context. I think most families that we actually talk to, there's generally an interplay between, academic challenges unfolding in that broader context of mental health challenges. And it is really, really tough to strike that balance of where do we put what energy or effort, addressing these, because they're definitely related. So just thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of parents feel maybe there's still some stigma around the mental health, and it's like there just isn't. It's so much more common than I think people realize. So I just want to really highlight that. And then let's unpack some of these challenges. So Jessica, you mentioned about, organization. Like, can you speak a bit more to what was going on with the online school, with having this, freedom essentially of, hey, you can plan your own schedule. Obviously, I can imagine how this is a double-edged sword. But can you speak a bit about what was it specifically, the challenge that you were seeing? Like, was it a motivation thing? Was it a procrastination? Was it I don't know how to do it? Like, if you had to name out these, two or three main challenges, what would they be?
Definitely, I don't know how to do it, because for me, adult person looking into her schedule, I would go in and be like, oh, look, you have this due then, this due then, this due then. I'd look at the month, I'd like plan it out and kind of try and show her like, this is how you can plan. Oh, look, your English thing requires, 4 things to be done. Do 1 a week. History requires you to do something every day. So just plan in every day. But that she I think she relied a lot on me, and then it was just easy. It's like, well, mom's going to do it. That was another part of it. Mom's just going to make my schedule. And then the other part was the accountability. I'd make the schedule for her, be like, this is how you could do this. And then she wouldn't follow it. And that was motivation. So it was, I don't have the skills to actually look ahead and look at my month plan or week or day even, and be like, these are the chunks I need to do, and then be accountable.
That's huge. And I think something you said at the very outset is really important here. You mentioned about the skills, like knowing how to do it. And even what you just said about as the parent looking in, and it's like, oh, okay, well, obviously, if you have this daily, carve it out, and you have this, then we do this. And I think that's something a lot of parents think when they're going to make their schedules or do their do to-do lists for their kids. But you guys, it's obvious for us, it's not obvious for them. And then Jessica, I'm going to take what you just said because, and I think you've heard me say this probably one too many times, but parents, just one of the gems here, I think Jessica has really hit on. If you are making plans and schedules for your kid and doing their to-do list and doing their calendar for them, you're not doing them a favor. All right. Because you're depriving them of the chance to build out this skill on their own. They don't know how to do it. They won't learn how to, even if they have a basic idea, they won't get stronger, more nuanced, more efficient without practicing. And then I think last but not least, like everybody, and this is kids and adults, if we know that somebody else is going to help us with something or do something, we're a lot less likely and a lot less motivated to be like, oh, I've got to do it. Yeah. So already, wow, Jessica, I think those two insights are just so valuable as far as the skill, letting them build it on their own, and just acknowledging that. And actually, okay, I have too many questions. I'm getting ahead of myself. But Jessica, okay, thank you for outlining those challenges, especially with the accountability piece. Yeah. So final question, just as far as that scenario goes, you were seeing these challenges, it sounds pretty clearly. At the time, was Katie also experiencing struggle and feeling like, yes, these are challenges? Or were you guys on different pages where you were like, this is a problem, like you're missing these deadlines, like, oh my goodness. And she wasn't, or was she like, yeah, I know this is a problem and I want to change it? Like, how close were you guys on that?
I think for Katie personally, there was a lot of shame and guilt in the accountability part. Like, I know I need to get this stuff done, and I don't have the skills. I don't know how to communicate this, that I need help. That was another big part of it. I can't communicate to my teachers. I don't want to communicate to my parents. And now I'm just ashamed that, and then she would just shut down and go in her little shell, which is part of the mental health part too. But I wonder if other kids, also just kind of, they shut down. They don't know where to begin. And that's what she actually told me later on during the course. She's like, I just didn't know how to start.
And I bet even acknowledging that is not something that comes readily or is apparent, especially for our teens. They don't have that lived experience, where I think the emotions that you listed are more what take over of like, well, why can't I? Or what's wrong with me? Or I should.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that was all kind of intertwined in her, pre-Como program kind of setup. And we just couldn't get past that. We didn't have the tools.
And Jessica, what did you try, if I can ask? Like when all this was unfolding, you were seeing these struggles, like what did you try as far as to help her? Like, did you guys get tutors or coaches, or was it mom teacher duty? Like, what did you guys go for?
I did get a tutor for math because math was just her big, struggle, which helped. Because it did kind of keep her on a bit of a schedule, and it made her accountable. Like, oh, on these 2 days, it's math tutor and you have to have X, Y, and Z done. That helped. But I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be it. I was not. And I can't teach her all the subjects. I knew I shouldn't get in there and be like, well, I'll write your paper for you. I wasn't going to do that either. So it was just frustration on both sides. I mean, you're just completely frustrated.
So I think that's one of like the purest expressions of the reaction I've heard. Just, excuse me, I have a cough. Sorry, guys. I did warn Jessica about this before I hit record. I've been having coughing fits throughout the day, and I shouldn't try to replicate the sounds of the frustration. But okay, no, that's very well said. I feel like every parent identifies with that.
Probably.
Yeah, no, really like nodding their heads. So okay, so amidst these challenges, what were you looking for as far as help or support? You mentioned about the tools. How did you how did you find out about us? Were you looking for something along these veins? Did we just kind of pop into your life? How did that happen?
You literally popped into my life. It was one of those like Facebook scroll things, literally. And it was
Facebook
like
ads.
I don't know what it was, Como counseling or I don't, or just Como. And I'm like, okay, click it on. And it was literally at dinner one night. And it was so interesting. I kept on I watched the whole, I don't know, Kelsey, I think you had a 20-minute, it was rather long, like
We do a webinar. It's like a 45-minute webinar that we have.
and it was one of those like, hey, sign up today, get 10% off. And I'm like, yeah, one of those. But I listened to the whole thing. And the more I listened, the more I was like, wait a minute, this makes so much sense. Wait a minute. Oh, holy crow. And I actually took notes on the 40 minutes.
I'm flattered.
Because I was like, this is too good. I got to tell my husband, I got to tell Katie. And then I said, Katie, you need to watch this. You need to watch this because she touches on everything we're struggling with, everything that I like truly believe in. You said, being a lifelong learner and not a lifelong student. I was like, oh, someone actually wants to do that. Someone believes in this lifelong learner. Yeah. So I was like, totally, yeah. The 40-minute presentation that you had just changed me forever. And then I showed Katie and she was like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm like, would you even be interested in a program? Like, let's have a look. And then I scheduled like our little conversation,
Yeah, the learning and achievement audit, the skills audit. Yeah.
Yeah. And both with Katie and myself and my husband. And we were like, yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. The magic of Facebook just never ceases to amaze me. That's so I love that we found each other through Facebook no less. But so a lot of teens, Jessica, as you might imagine, are not the most thrilled to be thinking about learning how to learn and I have to put more time and effort on top of school. Can you speak a little bit about what do you think it was that Katie was open and on board off the bat?
There was talk of mindset as well in your program. And I know she, through all the therapies and programs she had been through with mental health, she knew that mindset was like a big part of it. And I think she was just open. She's always been open to learn, even through therapy. And she's like, give me stuff to do, give me skills, give me tools so that I can, get this done and figure out my life and move forward. She's always wanted that. She's just very, ready to learn. That was part of the reason why public school didn't work out for her, because public school had already stamped her as dumb, which she's not. For whatever reason, they decided she should not ever be in an honors class or an AP class. And so she took that as, well, give up. School says I'm dumb, guess I'm dumb. And, as soon as we took her out of that situation, even though the online school in the beginning was a challenge with all the organization, her grades went from like B's, C's to A's already, just taking her out of that situation. So a lot of the stuff that you get in your head that you're kind of unconsciously or subconsciously told, those messages, it's a shame. At least in our school system, if you're not sporty and you're not brilliant, then we don't care. And the middle people kind of miss out. The people who have the 401(k) or the 403 programs, the IEPs, all of that, they're also supported, but the middleman is totally forgotten.
Yeah, where there's not a diagnosis necessarily, there's not excellence, there's not, like you just said, I think, Jessica, that's a lot That's way too common.
Mhm.
And you guys, we know that's not a knock on, teachers or anything like that. It's just the system is broken.
Right.
And the way it's designed, kids fall through, and that sucks. And that's interesting, Jessica, you say that, because that was one of the things Katie was sharing when her and I talked, was about the self-talk,
Mhm.
about how learning new mindsets and being open to that just gives new ways of thinking and new skills that at the time she wouldn't have thought were possible. But just that openness alone and her being receptive, look at all that she's been able to gain and change that self-talk for the better, which is just awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what this was like. So you guys were all in. Let's do this. Let's learn how to learn.
Yes.
This was our 8-week intensive.
Yes.
So Jessica, let's talk a little bit, basically the two sides here. Can you tell us first a bit about, what you observed with Katie, as far as, if there were a few things, one or two or even three things that stuck out throughout the course of her learning journey, really?
For her, I mean, I was really proud that she was always on all the calls. She like really didn't miss anything. She really wanted to be there. She wanted to suck up as much information as possible, I think. She really put full effort into it. And we went from, at the beginning of the program, she has a course online, which is called Senior Seminar. And it follows you. She had a sophomore seminar, junior, and a senior. It follows you and takes you along the journey of like how to prepare for college or choose your career path. And so for senior seminar, there were all these things. She hadn't done anything since November because she was stuck on, please name your top 10 colleges. And she didn't want anything to do with college. She didn't want to go. She didn't want to think about it. She was fearful of it. She was like all these emotions wrapped up with it. So she just literally stopped doing that course, that subject.
Just doesn't exist.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it. And I said, listen, you can make like a list of 10 colleges that you think you want. This isn't a list that you have to do, Nope, didn't help. Nothing helped. And somehow by the end of the 8 weeks, not only had she chosen what she wants to do after school, after high school, but she had already set up on her own 3 tours of 3 cosmetology schools in New York City, which we have already done.
That's amazing. That is so amazing, Jessica. Wow.
Right.
Okay, we have to unpack this a bit. What do you think? And I'm sure there's a lot of dynamics here, and I know I'm not going to keep you for like an hour. But what do you think like contributed to that shift for her? What do you think helped? That's a huge turnaround. That's such an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
Tell us about what do you think contributed to this?
I'm pretty sure it was the fact that the tools and the skill set and the like executive managing and the making organizing yourself, accountability, showing up helped getting all those tools. And on top of it, it is the amazing support of your people. Like for her, it was Tasha, who was there all the time for her, giving her feedback. I would get emails, at the end of every week, like this is what Katie accomplished this week. These are the wins, whatever. And it was so overwhelmingly positive all the time. It wasn't like, well, she did miss this one thing. It would be like, well, she did all this great stuff. And there was one thing that was due that she's already rescheduled and she's going to do. It was always put in positive. And I think all that positivity also models for the kids and certainly for Katie, hey, I can think this way instead of, I didn't get it done. It didn't work out. I didn't get the grade I wanted. It was like, what? You got a 90? Awesome. Even though your goal was 95. We don't talk about that. We're like, what? You got a 90? That's great. What? You got it? You finished it? Oh my gosh. Not you finished it late. It was you finished it and you aced it. You rock.
That's
so
amazing.
Different. It's so different. It's so different than the school that she left in 9th grade, where all of the kids in her class would be like, hey, what kind of failing grade did you get? You got 65? Oh, that's nothing. I got a 34. And it was this like race to who could fail the most. What a different mindset. you can't go out into life and be like, huh, wonder how great I can fail. Just
It's you just said
so
that so well. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
so it's your team also. It's the team. It's also you're in with a little group of kids your age who are going through very, very similar things, who are supporting each other. I mean, I think she would tell me like, oh yeah, we're supporting, and I kind of told so and so today a little bit about this situation. I hope it helped her, or that's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's not like, here, do these tools and I'll check in like in a week. No, supported, total support. And then it just rolls into your own life and you're like, hey, I think I can do this on my own. Let me try this. Hey, I think it was just so motivating and inspiring for her.
That's awesome, Jessica. I so appreciate you sharing that. That's just so awesome to hear. It's
because it's true. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think, and yeah, it's so funny about the cohort model. So we have more than one student in our group. We work one-on-one with our students, but there's multiple in a group. And it's so interesting because, Jessica, I don't think you and I have talked about this, or why we would have, but for a lot of families, a lot of students, they're like, oh, I'm not doing group. I have to have one-on-one. And at this stage, we've been doing it for so long where it's like even the students who are the most resistant, they're the ones who benefit the absolute most, because it turns into kind of just being like, you have your own little cheerleading squad, and it's like you genuinely are invested in each other's success, and it's really uplifting, and there's nothing bad that comes from it. And plus you get to learn from each other on top of that. So I love that you shared that. And also just, I think the shift in focus that you mentioned is so important. And I want to highlight that because I know there's a lot of fear around staying stuck, because it's like, well, what if I can't get the tools, or what if, it doesn't work for me, or like, there's just a lot of fear around these things. And it's like, these are things that are tried and true. They work if you work for them. Mm-hmm. Every single person, literally every single person, can choose to practice shifting focus. And it can be what Jessica described. I think it's not complicated. Like, it's simple. It's not easy necessarily, but it's simple as far as a shift in focus from, oh my God, I did this wrong, or whatever, into, I did all these things right, and here's what I can do better next time. Mm-hmm. And it really does, we have that expression, Jessica, it's we get results where we focus our energy. And if energy is focused on all the shit that goes wrong, you're going to see more shit that goes wrong. If you focus more on all of the things that you're doing right, even if at the beginning they might be hard to come by, we might have to pull them out, but we do it, you're going to see more things that go right. Yeah. So I love that you highlighted that. That's just so powerful. Okay. So for Katie, then, just I'm hearing lots of support, the accountability, lots of positivity, and then these tools. I think the shift in focus is a great one. And Jessica, for you, let's shift a little bit to your experience, because this is your story after all. Yeah. Tell us a bit about what it was like for you. Like, what did you observe? How did you feel? What was this experience like?
Well, I was right away very happy to hear about TOE, which is my favorite part of the whole thing, which we now use in our family as a verb. We just call it, are you going to tow today? Yeah.
I love that, Jessica. That's great.
Don't disturb us, we're towing right now. Yeah.
Adopted as a verb immediately. Yes. In Como, it's a thing. Okay. What do you do when you're towing? If you're telling anybody watching?
It's terms of engagement, right? And I get it confused with terms of endearment, which is interesting. Also similar. So it's these times that you carve out with your student, your child, and say, all right, I'm not talking about school ever except in these moments, whether you need to have this little meeting 4 times a week, once a week, twice a week, whatever. You work that out with Tasha. We worked that out with her, and also discussed with her. We made a whole map of what are we going to discuss in these meetings. And then the big clincher, the parents we don't run the meetings. Your kids run the meetings. So that was I ran the meeting the first time because I wasn't aware of that, and it did not work out. And I ended up storming out of the room, and I was like, this is horrible. And then I think, Kelsey, I said that on one of our parent calls, and you're like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be the kid running it. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I said, Katie, it's all yours. So I just sat back and I'm like, go for it. And it was so different. She was like, oh my God, I have to do this. Let me find the email. Where was the email again? And suddenly she's the one like, yeah, exactly. You do it. You do the work. And so you go through your wins, you go through your goals, you talk about school, you say, hey, I've done this and this and this, and I've planned this and this and this. And suddenly my life was like, I have time. I don't have this extra stress in the back of my head that says, I hope she's upstairs doing blah, blah, blah. I hope today she gets blah, blah, blah done. Doesn't she have a thing next week? Like, why am I doing her schedule in my head? Right. So within 1 week, I shifted as well. I was like, all right, I'm done. I let it go. She's in a program. She's being supported. I have nothing to do except for our 2 toes a week. And that's it. And at first you're a little scared as a parent. You're like, oh my God, I just gave up everything. And there was a little bit, maybe a hiccup here or there. And suddenly she just took it and flew.
Wow.
Yes.
So a couple follow-ups there, Jessica. First of all, I just have to like tip my hat to you because I do remember that conversation after the first week and you sharing being like, it was so bad I stormed out, which I'm laughing about now. It's not because it's actually funny, but it's just because also I love, Jessica, that you shared that because I think it's a testament, like, you guys, change isn't going to be perfect overnight where everything happens beautifully. Like, it's a journey. There's ups and downs, there's steps forward and step back, like there's trial and error. But I think it's really great, Jessica, to like really humanize the crap out of how these things go. Because here it is, the first one, disaster. But then guess what, you guys, this is how we learn. If we don't try new things, if we're not practicing, if we're not getting guided feedback and support and instruction, like it's really hard to know how to do better. So I guess the big first question here for parents who, like Jessica, I guess, was it hard for you is the question to kind of step back and have that sort of, no. Okay.
I was so ready. I was so ready. I have, Kelsey, I have so much other stuff on my plate right now.
Very full plate.
Very full personal, private, career plate that I was like, good, you do it. Here it is. You should have done a long time ago. I am so ready to give this up. So for me personally, and I know some other parents, I know in parents' calls, I heard the struggle in other parents, like, I don't quite want to give up those reins yet. And in my head, I just kept going, oh, but it feels so good. It feels so good. Just wait till you don't have to think about all of that stuff. Yeah, it's liberating.
That's liberating. I love that word. What, and maybe you've just actually said it, but would you share it? Is there anything else that you would share with parents who are in that mindset of, and you guys, I want to say mindset because I think a lot of parents, you talk yourselves into, if I'm not the one doing it, they're going to fail, it won't get done. And you probably have evidence to support that. So I'm not judging that belief at all, but there's a lot of fear about, but if I'm not doing XYZ, they're not going to get it done. Now, obviously this is literally what we work with, but like, Jessica, what would you say to that for a parent who's feeling that fear?
Well, if you're not going to crash and burn now, you're going to do that when? In college, in life, in your career? Why would I want to set my child up for that kind of failure? Why not learn that lesson now? Crash and burn now, while you're in my house, while you're supported by a program, while you're supported by parents. Totally do that now. And guess what? I don't think any child, I mean, even if they go downhill and they don't do the work and you're sitting in the back going, oh my God, they're like a week behind, and they're going to rally because they're going to realize, they're going to have that aha moment. Every kid does. I keep always saying to parents, I'm like, every kid learned, we all got potty trained, we did. Because I remember those days, like, my kid's never going to be potty trained. They're like 4 years old, they're not. But they do. And it's just kids work at different speeds, and it's okay. And they might not be working at my speed as a parent. I might want it faster because I know they can. We sit in the back and we're like, my child has all this potential. I see it. I know it. It's okay. They're going to figure it out. And it might take a week. It might take 2. It might take a day. They will rally, because it's just like you were saying, Kelsey, like, they're going to realize there's no one else doing this but me. At some point, there's no one else.
Yeah,
So
because that's just such good advice. And I think I just want to add slash reinforce something, Jessica, that you've shared and that you lived this.
mm,
But you guys, I want to emphasize what Jessica's saying. It only works if you actually follow through with the stepping back. Because there's often a false start of like, well, I'm going to step back and you do XYZ. But then after a week, if they don't do it, it's like, see, well, now I've got to come back in.
mm,
And you guys, that's just a surefire way to keep that toxic cycle going. You will not get out of it if that's the pattern that keeps happening. So I think what Jessica, just what you shared is, I want to just blare it from the speakers.
mhm,
Step back, actually step back, give them the space and time and the responsibility of, hey, choices have outcomes.
mhm.
And then importantly, obviously, I'm going to give you all the tools and support to make the right choices to get the right outcomes, but it's up to you to actually do it.
Right, right.
Okay. So, and Jessica, for you, outside of the toe, which I'm going to start using as a verb, by the way, I'm totally just stealing that. It's a thing. Outside of that, was there anything for you that, really moved the needle as far as thinking about, coming into it and thinking or hoping, I hope that we get XYZ and versus what you actually saw and observed for you and for Katie, but was there anything else that stuck out to you that made a difference? Any particular tool or skill or anything like that?
I mean, definitely the calendar organization skills that she um, has now in her toolbox, as we call it, are she continues to use that. It's not like you're in the program, you use the program stuff, and then you get out of the program and you go, okay, done. I don't think so. I'm sure all your kids who graduate from the program, they're continuing to use, what's valuable and what's worked for them. And for sure, for my daughter, it's the calendar. She still uses Google Calendar, but it's, all set up. And that's actually how we have our meetings. She just opens up her calendar and goes, look, this is here, this is there. It's all color coordinated. I mean, like, I didn't even know that was in her. Like, I didn't know that she could do something like that. And I actually started to do that for me.
I love that. You're with your calendar that you
Yeah,
are
yeah,
color coordinating and
yeah.
set.
Well, I still write mine.
Fair. As I'm sitting here, I'm like, we're allowed, you guys. Paper is okay. Yeah. But that's awesome. Did you just kind of see her doing it and we're like, that looks like it could be helpful, I'm going to take it? Or was she like, Mom, you should do this?
No, I like after the first couple of toes that we were doing, I'm like, oh man, that sounds really good. Like, she actually has hours planned out. Like, this hour I'm going to just concentrate on this. And I'm like, I have about 60 things I need to do. Sounds like a plan. So I'd sit down every morning. I'm like, all right, this is here, this is here, this is here. This is what absolutely needs to be done. And I even showed her once. I'm like, look, check it out. And she's like, go, Mom.
That is family skill building. That's that collaborative skill building at its finest. I love that. What strong modeling too. Wow, Jessica, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Jessica, with I'm mindful of our time here. I just have one final question for you, for right now at least. I told Katie yesterday, I'm like, I'm gonna have to have you back for a part 2. Jessica, I might extend the same, just because there's so much to unpack and talk about. But for right now, what advice, piece of advice or two, would you have for parents who are currently struggling, who are currently maybe where you were perhaps last year? Anything in particular that comes to mind that you think could be helpful, or that you wish you had known?
Como program. I mean, the whole program, everything that it encompasses, because it's empowering for the student, for your child, and for the parent. All of it. Katie and I just talked about therapy, and that you cannot just send your kid off to therapy and hope that everything's great and then put them back in an environment that's the same. So that's what I also loved about Como, is that parents get calls too. We're in the program with them. We're in the background a little bit and we're supporting, but we also get information and we get support from other parents and from your team and from you, Kelsey. So I don't know. I would give it a try. Like, what have you got to lose? If you're literally at the end of your rope and you've tried everything, And as a parent, you've tried to be in your kids, business, and they don't want that. Um, this is the best way to give them that. Here, it's the best gift. This is the gift for life. Like, here you go. Here's this program. You not only have tools for school and for college or whatever you want to do after high school, vocational, job, life. It's for life. You don't just use this here in like your English course and then you leave it. This is skill building for your life moving forward. So what better gift can you give your kid?
I would actually love to know if anybody watching this has a different answer, because yeah, the skills to feel confident and smart and to succeed. I mean, and obviously I'm a little biased. This is why I do this line of work. But Jessica, wow, thank you for those words. That's just so awesome to hear. And obviously hats off to you and Katie both, because you showed up. You guys, what we do at Como, our program, it's a bridge.
Yeah.
You are the ones who have to cross it, right? We'll hold your hands. But I think Jessica and Katie are just such incredible examples of, let's do this. We want better. We're going to show up for ourselves to make that happen. And you've created something so awesome. And we've also just, I don't know, I personally have just had so much fun watching this journey unfold and getting to know Katie and you, Jessica. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. So appreciate it. If you're watching, if you are sick and tired of the struggle, if you want something better, if you're willing to walk across the bridge, you guys book a call. The call is free. It's to see if we're a fit, if we can even help in the first place. And if we can, then in a few short weeks, we'll be celebrating a bunch of your wins. You can go to comoconsulting.com/get started now. I'll put in the link here to book that call. That's where Jessica started. And I would love to meet you and speak with you too. And otherwise, that's it for today's story. Jessica, thank you again. Everybody else, we will catch you on our next interview. Bye, guys.